Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, and I am none other than Mr. Warren Hayes. Isn't that a brilliant coincidence? Welcome once again, or for the first time, depending on your viewing or listening habits. This could be the first time that you come across this show. Could be the second time. Could be the 10th time. Who knows how many times you've been listening or watching, but this is my WWE RAW review / recap. Man, what a show we had on August 20, 2018. Quite a shocker. A big finish for a middling episode. But I may be getting ahead of myself a little bit. I'm really happy to see you guys. Well, not literally see you, but I'm happy that you guys are here. And yes, I'm wearing this shirt. I look like I live in a barge on the Everglades. No, it's fine. And you know what? I'm just making fun of my own fashion sense. No one bought this for me. You know, so I'm just poking fun of myself. Self-deprecation can go a long way. Let's do a little housekeeping before we actually get into the meat of the matter. Tonight, if you are watching this on, this video goes up on August 21st. And if you are watching this on August 21st, on the Tuesday, then you know that it's SmackDown Live. Well, immediately after SmackDown Live, I will be on Fightful.com sitting in for Sean Ross Sapp on the SmackDown Live recap show, which airs immediately after SmackDown is done airing itself. I'm going to be there with Alex Pulowski. We're going to go through the show. Should be a lot of fun. Did that just a couple of days ago for NXT. Again, Sean couldn't make it. Sean in some these are very unique instances where he's not around to do stuff. But apparently, you know, he has the opportunity to have a life as well. So Sean wasn't there, so I sat in for him for the NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 recap show, again with Alex Pulowski and Jeff Hawkins. It was a lot of fun. You should go check that out over on Fightful.com. But you know, despite the fact that I'm doing the SmackDown recap on Fightful tonight, don't you worry. All of you who are used to coming here, I will have my own SmackDown Live review as well on Wednesday, and then Wednesday evening on FightfulSelect.com, I will do my weekly combination 205 Live NXT recap show. Very anxious to see what's going to happen on 205 Live. NXT is going to be a recap show this week, but you know, I've heard some of the dark matches that the folks in Brooklyn were treated to at TakeOver this week. These dark matches are going to air this week, so I'm kind of excited to see what happens because, you know, we're getting Zach Gibson versus Pete Dunne. That's some tasty stuff. So, you know, I'll go over those. We'll probably talk a little more about TakeOver Brooklyn, maybe what's to come, what I think might be down the line. Try to project ourselves into the future a little bit. What are they going to do with Johnny Gargano? What's the next step for Adam Cole? Who's a good next opponent for Ricochet? You know, unless we continue with Adam Cole, how is the build up to War Games going? Lots of interesting stuff to come. And you can see all of this great recap stuff on FightfulSelect.com. And if you don't know what FightfulSelect.com is, it is the subscription service of Fightful.com. Do you not know what Fightful.com is? Well, Fightful is the premier combat sports news site where you can get all your news for pro wrestling, MMA, boxing. It's all there. It's all nicely divided as well. If you want to just focus on wrestling, well, you can go to Fightful Wrestling. If you just want to focus on boxing, you go to Fightful Boxing. Same thing for MMA. And you head on over there. And then on top of all the stuff, all the free stuff that you get on the website, there's the premium service, the subscription service, where you can support Fightful for as low as $5 a month. You get a ton of content, not only including my weekly 205 Live NXT recap show, but you get a weekly podcast called The Weekender, which is Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor of Fightful. He takes care of that. What he does there is a weekly recap of all major wrestling news. He recaps non-WWE programming, such as Being the Elite, Lucha Underground, Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, so on and so forth. So he goes through all of that, injury reports. It's a great podcast. It's for members only. You get Q&A sessions, you get monthly retro reviews, and that's coming up. Sean just announced a few hours ago that the next retro review for SummerSlam 1992 is going to be coming up later on this week. That was a fantastic. I do those with Sean. It's me and Sean, or Sean and I. And they're a lot of fun to do, and the SummerSlam one was probably my favorite one that we've done for Sean, for Fightful, that I've done with Sean for Fightful. And don't you worry if you're like, well, hey Warren, maybe all this extra content sounds fun on the subscription service, but is there a way for me maybe to get a little free taste, a little free sample, a little, just to wet my whistle, a bit? Sure, absolutely, there's a way for you to wet your whistle as far as FightfulSelect.com. In fact, very soon, our retro review of TNA Unbreakable is going to be offered up for free as a preview to the excellent content that is provided to you on FightfulSelect.com. Go check it out, FightfulSelect.com. Take a look at the tiers. As low as $5 a month, you get so much stuff, it's ridiculous. You can get t-shirts, you can get bumper stickers, you can get these handsome masks right here of Sean Ross Sapp himself. There's a lot of stuff. Go check that out. So those are my programming notes for this week. Before we go on, just before we get into Raw, this is the first opportunity I get to talk live, aside from Twitter, about SummerSlam. Just like to drop a few thoughts. I don't want to really spend much time on this because, it's Tuesday after all. I think our SummerSlam hangover is done, and it's time to move on at some point. But I would like to just share a few thoughts that I had after a good little drink of water. First of all, I thought it was a fantastic show. One of the better SummerSlams that has happened in recent memory. I honestly am of the opinion that if you managed to find any kind of displeasure with this show, I think you're a nasty old sourpuss. I really do. I think there was something for everyone on this show, and anyone who, anyone and everyone who were like, Roman, what a crap main event. Roman won. Roman's the champion. I'm canceling my event. Well, my subscription, not my event. I'm canceling my subscription to WWE Network. Boo Roman. Boo main event. I'm canceling my subscription. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a good way to protest towards corporations is to protest with your wallet, right? Make sure that they understand. That you don't agree with the decisions that they're making. So make damn sure that because you disliked one match on the entire card that you completely. That you make sure that just because of that you ensure that Vince McMahon understands that because of that one match, you're canceling your subscription and nothing else on the card mattered. Nothing of the 12 other matches that were on that show, not a single one of them mattered to you other than the main event. Make damn sure that that's your point. Go ahead and cancel just because you strongly disagree with the booking and the outcome of a match. One match. That's some brain power right there. I don't want to get into something. Yeah, but it's too late now, isn't it? It's kind of like when, your awkward friend says, I don't want to sound racist, but... So I don't want to get into something, but... There's members, people who do stuff on YouTube, podcasts, in the wrestling community, and who have followings, who have a widespread audience. There's certain amount of them take great pleasure in constantly crapping over WWE. And they make a business out of... Their business is entirely built on finding fault with everything WWE does and always going in with much irritation, aggressiveness. And kind of hope, I hope for them that the business doesn't change to suit their needs, because I kind of wonder if the business was to turn and things started to go their way, I wonder what their content would be like. I wonder if it'll be, if you can't find fault with something and that's your whole MO, what happens then if you cannot find fault? What happens to your business? Anywho, I thought it was a great show. The pre-show matches weren't very good. The cruiserweight match was fine, but the ending was really, really sloppy. I didn't care for it much. Really, really did not. The ending. Otherwise, it was fine. And the wrong man won. No. Cedric shouldn't have retained. Matches I really liked, AJ versus Joe, which I thought was fantastic. That was a great match. Such a fantastic story, and what an ending. Bludgeon Brothers versus New Day was also very good. Seth Rollins versus Dolph was so much better. So much better than their Iron Man match. The women's triple threat was really good as well. There's a lot of really... Miz and Daniel Bryan, I thought told a really interesting story. It was a lot more physical than I thought. I think one of the problems, I think the main problem with the card was match positioning. I think that starting with Rollins and Ziggler was a good idea. Following up with the New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers was also good, but then things started to, was it the triple threat, the women's triple threat after that, and then we got to a point where it was like the women's triple threat. Then we had AJ and Joe, and then followed by Miz and Daniel Bryan, and we hadn't seen Balor versus Corbin. We hadn't seen Shinsuke versus Jeff Hardy. And I didn't get it, because it seems to me those were your cool down matches. Those were the matches that you just slip between two really big fights just to give the audience the breather, just to recharge batteries, whatnot. I did not understand the positioning of putting Daniel Bryan and Miz right after Joe and AJ Styles, and having Joe and AJ Styles so low on the card. That's something that baffled me. because then after, right? Then it was after Miz and Brian that we got Shinsuke and Jeff and Daniel Balor versus Corbin. I don't know if it was in that order. I think it's the opposite order, but I don't understand. And then, I started thinking, well, they probably wanted these really big fan favorite matches to be further away from the main event so that it, wouldn't distract too much, wouldn't be too distracting. The comparisons wouldn't be so easy to make because they'd be so close to each other. Having Lesnar and Roman follow immediately after Joe and AJ would have been disastrous. That would have been bad. But the positioning was really weird. I didn't understand Jeff's swanton onto the apron. In the sense that I don't understand why he decided to pull that out in such a nothing match. I don't want to sound like I'm being not that the match was nothing. It was fine. It was an absolutely fine match. It's not that I'm trying to degrade their work. It's just ultimately for the result, the fact that he didn't win the title, the fact that there wasn't really any build to this match. It was mostly, all the stuff with Randy Orton that was really interesting throughout all of this. Nakamura was playing second fiddle. What do you do? You go and you do a swanton onto the apron on this match, which was mostly meant to be a cool down. I don't understand why he decided to pull that out there. 40 years old, broken as he's been, his chronicle with injuries and painkillers is extremely well known. More than fairly well known. It's extremely well known. Why is he doing this? And yeah, I know a lot of people had trouble with the squash matches. I didn't have all that much of a problem with the squash matches as long as they told a story, as long as they served a story. Now, as far as Kevin Owens' squash goes, I was shocked. Completely shocked. Building into this match, having the matches every week on Raw. This is how Braun can lose. Braun can also lose this way. He can count out or disqualification or and we roll into this match and Braun just destroys Kevin. Now we've established that Braun can beat Kevin Owens fairly easily. We know that. But with everything that was placed upon this match and the precedent of having to defend the briefcase, you would have thought they would have given us at least something, that Kevin would have enacted at least some part of a plan. Because of course he didn't go in there without a plan. It's Kevin Owens. At the same time, I understand you have a monster. That's how you've booked Braun Strowman up to this point. He's a monster. He can defeat anything. He can anyone. He can flip semi-trucks. So of course, you're going to have him destroy everything. You're going to have him run through the competition. That's part of who he is. I get all of that. So when he won in a squash, essentially, and that was the first squash of the night as well, I was a little mad. No, okay, look, I'm going to wait. Let's see what this does for Kevin, and let's see what this does for Braun. Because if they're going to have Braun cash in later on, perhaps wrestle, well, then maybe they wanted him to stay as fresh as possible for the main event, so that he doesn't pull too much of a double duty. Wrestle one 10-minute match on the other one and 10 minutes on the other. You know what I mean. So at that point, I was kind of expecting a triple threat. I was really expecting Braun to insert himself into the main event. But from that point on, my expectation was for Braun to be in the main event to cash in and walk out as champ. That's what I was expecting. That's why I figured that we had to feed this story. But that's not what happened. He came in as a swerve for the audience so that the audience would, not a swerve for the audience, but I think I saw someone online call it a pacifier for the audience. You know, make sure that they don't get mad at the main event. Have the specter of Braun perhaps cashing in inject some positivity into this fight. I think that's ultimately what he was for. But it just didn't make sense for him to squash Kevin Owens so decidedly once it was decided that they were going to do nothing with him. That they were going to let Brock beat the tar out of him. And what did it do for Kevin? It ended up doing nothing for Kevin. That's why, and I even posted it on Twitter. It's like, look, I'm going to reserve any type of judgment in regards to the KO squash until the end of Raw, because maybe it's leading into something. But no, absolutely nothing. Aside from giving a reason for Kevin Owens to take a week off, because Kevin has put his body through ridiculous amounts of punishment without any rest. Being thrown off ladders and thrown off the Hell in a Cell. Not the Hell in a Cell, but the top of the cage. That's enough. So aside from him having some requesting and being granted some time off, that's the only thing, the only reason I see what happened. I see I pitted myself into a corner grammatically. Aside from requesting some time off, there's no reason for this to have happened to Kevin Owens, because it gave nothing. It didn't promote. It promoted nothing. He didn't even get a match. He didn't have a chance to fight. And on Raw wasn't even mentioned. He wasn't even there. He wasn't even on Raw. Like I said, maybe it's time off that he needed. Anyway, just a few SummerSlam thoughts. Let's go into Monday Night Raw. Shall we? We shall. That's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start the show with your new WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. Of course, why not? Roman comes in and he lets it sink in, which is fine. You know, he takes his time, and you know what? I'd let it sink in as well. Crowd is loud. A lot of boos. He's being booed out of the building. I'm a man of my word is what he says when he hits the ring, saying that I told you I was going to beat Brock Lesnar. Yeah, you've been telling us this for the better part of 18 months. Shut up, Roman. Don't shut up. You can keep saying it. I know this is what you were told to say, but yeah, I guess you're a man of your word. You finally did it. As he's cutting his promo, the audience goes into a "You still suck" chant, saying that he got rid of Brock Lesnar, but Brooklyn is not buying this. You still suck. And I was surprised at how little effort production put in to reduce the crowd noise. Like, oftentimes you'll still hear what they're saying, but you'll hear like a dip in the audio, right? Dip. Here there was no effort. They just let it roll. You still suck. He challenges Finn Balor to a match, calling out the fact that he's the first Universal Champion. He lost it due to injury. Didn't even have time to defend it. So I'm giving him his rematch tonight. What a way to win over the crowd. Baron Corbin, Constable Baron Corbin, comes out and says Finn Balor is not getting rewarded. Last night, I was supposed to fight Finn Balor. What I got was the demon. Balor no-showed. I thought that was funny. Said Balor no-showed. Instead, I get the demon. And then trade some barbs with Roman. Corbin does, of course. They go a little back and forth. At some point, Roman says, if I sucked as much as you did last night, I'd try to forget that match as well. Which this is the kind of Roman Reigns that I like. That you'll just let him be sassy, and I'm okay with that. I think he works. Anyway, Corbin tries to make the match him versus Finn, but then Kurt Angle comes out and says, look, I'm the GM. I'm the guy who makes the matches. Roman versus Finn is on. And as for you, Baron Corbin, I am giving you a match right now against Bobby Lashley, who comes out to absolutely no reaction. And this is not on Bobby Lashley, folks. This is all WWE's fault, who have been unable to book this guy properly since he came in. Barely had anything to do with him, for him, when he arrived. I'll still remember he came in just right after WrestleMania, right? And he was in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was just 2 or 3 weeks after WrestleMania. And I'll always remember him coming out to pyro. Like, not everyone got pyro on that show. Roman Reigns did. Taker. I want to say Triple H. Not quite sure, but not everyone got pyro. But Bobby Lashley got friggin' pyro. Seth Rollins didn't get pyro. Neither did Finn. Neither did Braun. But Bobby Lashley got pyro. But they couldn't do anything. The only snippet of time that they had Bobby Lashley actually do something interesting was in the build-up to Extreme Rules, his pissing contest with Roman Reigns, which actually was rather entertaining. I liked it. That's where he made the most sense. Let's not start talking about the Sami Zayn sisters thing and what happened to his feud with Elias. Don't know, but it's getting kind of sad. It's getting kind of sad as far as Bobby Lashley goes. And like I said, folks, this is not on him. This is entirely on creative's fault. So the match, Lashley is mostly in control for this match. And Bobby didn't seem motivated. It doesn't look like he and Baron Corbin really work well. The offense was weird and always kind of awkward. I didn't like this match. I didn't care. I thought it was dull. Commentary worked really, really hard to put over the fact that these are two big guys that can move, and they're right. And responding to Corey Graves, Coach says, yeah, you're right, Corey. They both move like they're 6'1", 220, a part of 205 Live. That's what Coach said. 220 pounds, part of 205 Live. I don't want a bandwagon. Doing commentary is difficult. It's not easy. And I always try to find the positive in all forms of commentary, but holy smokes, guys. Jonathan Coachman is pretty bad. For wrestling, I don't know about his other ventures, golf, I hear he does commentary on the new Madden game. But he is so bad, so beige, and does he even understand WWE anymore? I don't know what this is all about. Yeah, they move 220 pounds just like they're on 205 Live. I understand what he meant, but goddamn, if it was just one thing, we'd probably all be laughing it off. Oh, he goofed. Look at that. But it's just they just keep stacking on top of each other. Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin. They do the shoulders in the post thing. Lashley does his belly to belly throw. He does his spine buster, his running corner clotheslines, and we get boring chants from the audience, and yeah, it's not good. Corbin does his all throughout the match. He does his combination full Nelson crossface chin lock thing. That's part of his signature offense now. He does it every match, multiple times in the same match. Match ends when Lashley finishes with his modified Dominator. Instead of face slamming the guy, he does like a spinning slam. It's a nice finisher. It looks good. But man, what a dud. Not a dud. Like, not dud as in a rating scale dud. Just like a flat match that has no consequence and that no one really wanted. It was really, really a flat. Paul Heyman is backstage with Kurt Angle saying that Brock is invoking. He's there to invoke, I should say. Paul is there to invoke Brock's rematch clause. That's interesting. Since we're talking about rematch clauses, how about KOs? How about Finn's? Even though he's getting it tonight. Or Goldberg's. These are all guys who have their rematch clauses. Kurt weasels out of it, saying, I'm not subjected to any time frame for this, so I don't have any plans for you in the near future. I don't know. Yeah, and Kurt besides he says, I have a fighting champion now, and this is the theme of the night. I have a fighting champion now, and he's, I'm not ready to risk losing him so that Brock can hijack the title again, basically. Heyman says he wants the rematch at Hell in a Cell, but Kurt says it'll be a cold day in hell before that happens. Yeah. So that's not going to happen at Hell in a Cell. Thank goodness. You can tell, with the way that they'll be pushing this idea of Roman Reigns fighting champion, and throughout all of the commentary, all throughout the evening, that they really want to separate. Like, from this point on, the Roman Reigns era is over. Corbin comes in and he says, this is after commercial, he comes in, talks to Kurt, and he says that he's going to talk to Stephanie about being mistreated, like he's apparently been being mistreated right now. So, we'll see. Get some hype for the Australian Super Show on October 6th, at least for the Undertaker Triple H show match, I should say. No point in really getting super excited about it. It's going to be a house show in a stadium. This will have no real significance or impact on anything. We get Bayley, Sasha, and Ember Moon in a triple threat, in a 6-man tag team match against the Riot Squad. All three heels going really aggressively from the get-go, and not the heels, sorry, the baby faces going really aggressively. I watched the match. Sasha is particularly hard on Ruby. Ember Moon unloads some hard strikes on Logan. Commentary is doing a great job here, telling the story that Sasha and Ember both have bones to pick with Ruby and Sarah Logan, respectively. Moon goes for a dive on the outside and she almost misses it. But thanks to the velocity she goes in at, she's good. But Sarah Logan was not in the right spot to eat that dive. Ruby hits an STO to Bayley on the outside. Bayley, at this point on, is your babyface in peril. She gets tied up in the ropes by Morgan, and gets the ref, who gets the break. While the ref is distracted, Logan gets a shot in at Bayley. It's your typical heel stuff. Logan goes for a pop-up headbutt on Bayley, but I'm not quite sure she hit it or what it looked like because the camera angles were off, and that bugs me. It bugs me. I was talking with someone on Twitter not that long ago. I made a snide comment during the G1 when the G1 when the production team missed a spot, and it happens in New Japan. It happens quite a bit, but they missed a spot. I think it was Sonata doing a moonsault to the outside, and they just the camera work was just not there. We didn't see the spot. I don't remember what the spot was exactly. And I made a snide comment on Twitter, just you'd swear we're watching WWE television. Someone took offense to that, saying, "What are you talking about? WWE has millions of dollars. They don't have the same production value." Well, that's my point. In a way. Yes, New Japan, they much smaller production budget. They don't have as many people on the floor or cameras everywhere. So it does happen that they will miss something crucial. You sort of expect that. When it comes to WWE, who have millions of dollars put annually into production, they have huge crews covering the action from every angle. And on top of that, the cranes and everything. When you see a TV taping live, you realize just how much people are on the floor. When they miss stuff like that it sort of boggles the imagination. Like, how did you manage to not get a proper shot on this? WWE. It's because we hold them to a higher standard. Sasha gets the hot tag on this. That lights the crowd up. They were pretty dead for the Riot Squad offense, but Sasha coming in just lit it up. Again, a testament to how bulletproof Sasha Banks is. Ember hits a tornado suplex off the apron onto the outside. Logan beheads Bayley with a lariat. And the match ends when Ruby hits a very high impact Riot kick to Sasha Banks, who sells it like, no pun intended, but sells it like a boss. And Ruby Riot gets another big win. And leave it to Michael Cole to call the numbers game, saying, "Oh, the numbers game was too much for our team of ladies." How is it a numbers game if both teams have 3 people in it? They were at even numbers. What is this? It's a 3-on-3 match. Michael, there's no numbers game. Anyway, you have to appreciate Ruby Riot getting a win here. You really do. Triple H gets his segment in where he, when he comes out, he gets huge NXT chants. And he puts over the weekend, saying that NXT and SummerSlam were super. He says he's a fan just like us, but, these kinds of events like this kind of makes him want to get back in the ring. Put his boots, lace up his boots, and put on his game face. Go through his pre-match ritual. And he goes through a thing, basically saying that he's going to be fighting Undertaker. It was a good promo. I don't want to be dismissive. I just want to move along a little bit because there's a lot of stuff to unpack. But it was a really good promo. I was never a fan of Triple H promos back in the day. I thought that I thought he had a very high opinion of his promo work, where it was okay, it was fine, it wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but he was, he was no master of the promo either. But as he's become older, more detached as well from actual wrestling, I feel like when he works the mic, he's much more earnest, much more sincere. The last time we saw him on the mic was to announce Evolution, and I thought he nailed his part of the speech much, much more than Stephanie McMahon did. I thought he did a fantastic job here as well. Here comes Seth Rollins coming to the ring. He's on his way with his, but he's accompanying his buddy Dean Ambrose, who was coming to have his first match since returning from injury against Dolph Ziggler. No, I hadn't forgotten. It was for suspense. No, because apparently, the match was said it was supposed to be Dean Ambrose versus Drew McIntyre. That's what was going on. But apparently, all throughout the afternoon, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, a lot of waffling. Should it be Dean versus Dolph or Dean versus Drew? And I think they made the right choice here because Dean was able to showcase his strength better against a guy like Dolph than a monster of a man, that handsome monster of a man that is Drew McIntyre. I don't like when they call him the psychotic Scotsman. It doesn't roll off the tongue and it doesn't fit him. He's not psychotic. He just likes to beat guys up. He's a mountain. He's like he's the god of thunder. He'll rain it down with his kilt. He'll rain thunder down with his kilt. This was a good match. I thought this was a perfect showcase for Dean's return. And you could tell that the story they were telling here is that Drew wasn't expecting this. Let's not forget, these guys were familiar with each other. They had a WWE title or world title feud a couple of years ago. So, like, technically speaking, these guys, they have history. They know who each other are. So it made sense to me here that Dolph is like, wait. Since when is this Dean Ambrose? Since when does Dean pull off? I'm just looking through my notes here. Since when does Dean start using power offense? Or doing fall-away slams with such ease? Because this was to showcase Dean's new strength and his new moveset as well. Dude hasn't been sitting on his ass. He's been working out. He's been perfecting what he's doing. At some point, Dolph tosses Dean to the outside. Seth comes over to make sure Drew doesn't get anything on Dean, and he says to back off. And Drew doesn't have it. He's had enough, and he takes off his jacket, and I start getting sweaty. I mean, I pop. So Seth and Drew start beating up on each other. Dolph runs in for some interference, but then Dean comes back to save the day, and he grabs Dolph. He tosses him back in, and Dolph goes for a super kick. Dean catches the super kick, then releases it, and just as he's releasing it, Seth runs right between both guys to dive onto Drew on the outside. And man, the match ends with Dean just lifting Dolph into the air, coming down with bringing him down immediately into Dirty Deeds. That was golden. Wow. More Dean Ambrose. Didn't know I missed him that much. That was a fine match. And one of the only matches of the evening that was of any real consequence. Because it was a reintroduction to Dean Ambrose. Elias is mouthing off to a couple of stagehands, saying that he doesn't want the guitar to break. Saying that Fender makes some. They make. He's under the impression that someone is out to sabotage him because Fender, they make great guitars. Someone must have messed with his guitar on SummerSlam when the handle came off. It's not a handle. It's not the. It's the. I can't remember the term. I'm not a guitarist. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. So yeah, made sure that everyone understood that Fender made great guitars. What happened at SummerSlam, that was a plan. That was someone who made this happen. So that was pretty funny. Make sure the sponsors are happy. Braun walks up to Finn backstage and wishes him good luck, saying that he's not going to cash in from behind again, the same speech that he did at SummerSlam. Why? First of all, what I don't understand, and if you've listened to my stuff before, you know that I don't think it's a good idea. It was never a good idea to put the briefcase on Braun, and it's still not a good idea for him to be walking around with it at this point. But on top of that, why is Braun not wanting to destroy Brock Lesnar? Because Brock annihilated him Sunday. The Braun Strowman I know would come in to Raw and would flip everything over until he found Brock and murdered him. Or would come out to Kurt and said, I'm hijacking this show until you give me Brock. I honestly thought that we were going to move into a short program with Brock against Braun that would have served to elevate Braun a little more. But no. Especially since Brock was advertised for Raw. And this is what I really thought, that Brock was going to be on Raw so that Braun could just serve him the beating of a lifetime. Like when a wrestler is supposed to, retires or is supposed to leave, how he gets a send-off match where he puts over another guy? That kind of thing. But no, apparently not. Elias is in the ring. He starts playing, puts down Brooklyn, the usual stuff. Still very good. Kurt Hawkins comes out. He says, I hear you want to be a number one hit. Could be the number one guy to lose to Kurt Hawkins. He says, Kurt Hawkins, you're a loser. You're born a loser. You'll die a loser, just like everyone here. He bullies Hawkins off, but Hawkins sort of psychs himself up and he says, no. And then he goes back and says, I challenge you to a match right now. The official arrives. Hawkins does a quick roll up to try and get the quick win, but it's not going to be, it's not going to serve him much. He does get some offense in. The crowd starts chanting, you deserve it. Deserve to win. They're behind Hawkins at this point. They're like, yes, make this happen. But Elias hits the drift away, and that's that. Hawkins is at 0-2-19 from this point on. I really think they're going to end his streak at WrestleMania at this point. I really think that's what they're going to do. Backstage, and Apollo and Cruz and Dana Brooke are flirting. Kind of like, Titus comes over and they're sort of like, oh, Titus is here. I don't necessarily want to talk about this match it wasn't very good again. Still don't know what they're doing with Authors of Pain. And honestly, if the pairing between Authors of Pain and Titus Worldwide, if all it's been good for was to build the story of Titus Worldwide breaking up, I am extremely disappointed. What happened is, I mean, there was the sequence where Apollo Crews hits a corkscrew moonsault, and he covers, gets pushed out of the count, and does a standing shooting star press. That was cool, and that was it. You know, Apollo always does a little something to remind us that he is amazing. But otherwise, no, I'm sorry, folks, and I'm bitter. I'm super bitter with the way they're treating Authors of Pain, and I don't want to get into it again. Man, I don't know what they're doing with Authors of Pain. If Authors of Pain are having competitive matches against Titus Worldwide, a team, a duo that we as viewers have been conditioned into understanding that they are not contenders, they are not threats, they are not a good tag team. Authors of Pain are having competitive matches against them, and there is definitely something terribly wrong in creative. Thank you very much. So again, another match that ultimately didn't mean anything. The Ronda Rousey Championship celebration. First of all, are the Bellas free agents? Because I don't remember them being drafted to Raw. I'm just putting that out there. The whole women's roster is around the ring. Stephanie McMahon is in the middle. And she's just ham-fisting it home that she's a heel. Ronda comes out. Stephanie actually goes, let me introduce you to my protege. She says, I molded her in my own image. Let me introduce you to... And Ronda Rousey's music interrupts her. When she comes out, she says she wonders why everyone is outside of the ring. Are you trying to look down on them, Stephanie? Come on, guys. This is about you. This is about evolution. And then she starts putting over Natalya, which Natalya apparently really appreciated. She got all teary-eyed, and the crowd started chanting her name, and you could see she got really emotional for a second there. She put the whole roster over. Hell, she put over Sasha and Bayley's match from TakeOver Brooklyn, saying, if it hadn't been for that match, none of the ignition would not have been all of this wouldn't have been ignited. Like, wow, okay. This is cool. And from what I understand via Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful.com, which is the place where you should go for all your news and information. But from what we gather, Ronda is legitimately liked backstage. Everyone likes her. She gets along really well with everyone. She is super liked. So for her to do this, it was somewhat normal and natural. Maybe the way that it was done was a little hammy, a little corny. Maybe came off a little wrong. I think if she had, again, let her speak a little more from the heart, I believe the genuineness of her intentions would have come across a lot better than having to stick to some script. Yeah, and then Steph starts saying, all you want to do here is break everyone's arm. And Rousey says, I only want to break the arms of those who deserve it. She starts giving Stephanie a stare down. And she goes after her. Judo throws her to the ground. Arm bars her. And there you go. Stephanie rolls out of the ring, and the heels look after Steph. The faces celebrate with Ronda Rousey. And you had the perfect picture here for another thing that I've been saying for a while. That the problem with the women's roster on Raw is that there are too many baby faces. You have too many all of your strong women, your strong personalities, your strong characters, they're all baby faces. Your only strong heel on Raw is Alexa Bliss. So people are asking. I remember when Alexa regained the title. People were like, well, why are they giving it to Alexa? Well, if Ronda Rousey is supposed to fight for it, she has to fight against a pure heel. This is your babyface heel match. Pure and simple. So you had to give it to Alexa. There were no other heels on Raw that would have been credible for for Ronda to go after. So what are they doing here? Well, they're shouting out Stephanie because she's the only credible heel they have, or strong enough personality. No, she's not a wrestler. But Ruby's not ready, and besides, I think Ruby's going to be involved in the women's tag team picture if that ever pops up. But look at who you had. You just look at that segment again. You had Alexa, the Riot Squad, and Alicia Fox out with Stephanie McMahon. And in the ring, you had Sasha, Bayley, Natty, Dana Brooke. I'm forgetting people. The Bellas, which, you can argue, but all baby faces. Ember Moon. They're all baby faces. No strong women heels. There's only one, and they're building another one, but doesn't make for a really interesting division. So I'm thinking, are they starting to sow the seeds of Team Ronda versus Team Stephanie at SummerSlam? I'd actually be okay with that. I prefer that rather than the phony brand wars, Raw versus SmackDown. I'd be okay with it with the brand wars if there were stakes. If there was some kind of stakes other than honor. Oh, we're Team SmackDown. Why? What's the driving? What's the impetus to bring all these people together and fight for Raw? And even if it or SmackDown, and even if it were just a monetary incentive, as kayfabe or real as it would be, even if it was just like, guys, if you guys win, you get a bonus, you get a $25,000 bonus on your paycheck. What? They just need stakes. Just give us a reason to care. Give us a reason to cheer the team, one of the teams on. That's it. We had the Revival and the B team square off in singles matches. Scott Dawson versus Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel versus Dash Wilder. What I've learned from these two encounters is that the Revival have killer singles finishers. Bo Dallas was beaten by Scott Dawson, who used Paige's old finisher, which I thought was pretty awesome. And Dash Wilder defeated Curtis Axel with a gory bomb. We don't see a lot of gory bombs on WWE TV, let me tell you. That was pretty cool. There were fine matches. Dash Wilder, I thought, was really, really good. He even pulled off a fireman's carry backbreaker at some point. A lot of backbreakers, working the back a lot. Scott working Bo Dallas's face. This was good. again, the story here is that the B team, not again, but the B team at start put over the fact, again, that a few weeks ago we were losing matches. We never won a tag team match up until this point and up until a few weeks ago. Now look at us now. We're tag team champs. And here, they're split up. They're put into 2 different matches. And the luck factor isn't there. They didn't win. They both got creamed. So this is an interesting element to add to this storyline. However, what tag team division? Am I right, fellas and ladies? What tag team division on Raw? There's no depth to it. Your champions are the B team. You've got the Revival. You've got AOP. Revival, apparently they're trying to do something with them. AOP, well, I don't know what the hell is going on. The Ascension? Breezango? And Fandango is currently injured. The Leaders of the World, apparently that's done. All signs point to Matt Hardy right now taking over a job as a producer on Raw. There's just no tag team division on Raw. It's it's sad, actually. It's sad because it seems to me that recently we've been treated to such fantastic tag team wrestling. If you've been watching NXT recently, you know what I mean. But even there, on NXT, not that much depth in the tag team department. Undisputed Era right now are Kings of the Mountain. Speaking of mountains, Mustache Mountain, fantastic work together, but they're probably going to be more, they're probably going to become stalwarts of the UK brand. War Raiders? Sure, I completely buy those guys. But then after, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, man, it sucks that Lorcan's injury sort of cut the grass from under their push like that, because they were pretty credible. The Mighty, they have, I find they have charisma problems. It's not all that great. Heavy Machinery is a good act, but as far as a wrestling duo, more or less, I'm not fussy on Street Profits as a team. I like Montez Ford. D'Angelo Dawkins, I don't know what they're doing with that guy anymore. I think his ceiling has already been hit. I don't see how he's not progressing. Then you have Sabatelli and Moss. They're both injured. I mean, even on NXT, we kind of have that issue as well. Back to Raw though. Roman doesn't have any reservations to defending his title tonight, even though Braun is hanging around. He says Finn deserves a shot. What a good guy. Good guy, Roman. Good guy, Roman. But it's smart booking, for Roman to be like, yeah, look, fans, I know that you guys have been wanting this for a long time. You've wanted justice for Finn. Look, I'm going to give it to him because he's a cool guy and I like him. He deserves it. Well, hey, good job, Roman. I mean, it's smart booking. Makes sense that you want the audience to be on his side. And take that as another indication, ladies and gentlemen, that WWE does read your posts on Twitter. And they do know what you think. And don't think that they're not listening. They're listening. They're just choosing to ignore you and pull out these things when best suits them. And that's what a promoter should do, right? Back from commercials, Stephanie is holding a bag of ice like a baby against her arm. Corbin and Alexa are there too. Kurt comes in. Basically they say Raw is in chaos. This is crazy. Stephanie says no. Kurt, it's time for you to take a little time off. Vacation. That means that Constable Corbin is now the acting GM of Raw. Oh boy. And I don't mean that in a sardonic way. I love the Constable Corbin character. Baron Corbin has been doing the best work since his call-up from NXT over the past few months. This has been fantastic. I only expect him to do really fun things. So then we get our main event, which is Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. Roman using his strength against Balor, who's using his speed. I like this match. I thought this was a good match, and it had an exciting final third. At first it was a lot of Roman trying to ground Finn, which is normal. That's what you do. It was very normal psychology. Roman keeping the pressure on him, using power moves, heavy strikes. Balor at some point drop kicks Roman to the outside and does his tope con hilo, of course. They trade some strikes. Balor hits an overhead kick. And then there's this really nice aggro spot where Balor starts stomping Roman faster and faster. And he's holding onto the ropes and he keeps stomping more and more. Crowd comes alive for that. Roman deadlifts Finn and drives him into a sit-out powerbomb, which was really cool. Winds up a Superman punch. It gets reversed by Balor, cover for 2. Finn misses the coup de grace, then gets a Superman punch for his troubles. Roman covers him for 2. Audience is super hot at this point. They are into it. From this point on, match is really exciting. The spear is countered by a knee. Roll up, cover for 2. Superman punch puts Finn flat on his back, but then Braun's music hits, and he comes to the ring. Finn Balor takes advantage of the distraction to sling blade Roman, drop kick, misses the coup de grace. Roman spears, and that is your match. Braun gets in the ring. He waits till Roman sort of regains his senses so that he's not too much dead on his feet, and boots him right in the face. Crowd goes nuts. There's a cash-in coming. He hands the briefcase over to the ref. The ref does his little thing. JoJo announces it on the mic that Braun Strowman is cashing in, and as that happens, Sierra Hungry Indigo League. I don't know how to spell Shield, especially not with the call signs. The Shield music hits to everyone's complete surprise. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose come out, and they are in their duds, their super Shield duds. They come down to the ring. They surround the ring. They do the Shield thing. And Braun's not deterred. He goes for Roman. Everyone comes in, starts piling on Braun. Braun fights back as much as he can, but the numbers game gets to him. They finally get the triple power bomb, or the triple man power bomb, through the commentator's table on the outside. That takes out Braun, and the Shield stand tall after this. Commentary was making a point, very pushing this, that the bell never rung. So this wasn't an official match. So I'm thinking, I think it's too late to call whether or not the cash-in was successful or not, because I think that they might actually play off of this next week. Now, of course, this was a very heel thing to do, what the Shield did. Are the Shield heels? Are they baby faces? My reflex, of course, is to say, of course they're not heels. But, and I discussed this recently when I was graciously invited as a guest on the Spees and Benchmark show. You should check those guys out at Spees Spees Benchmark on Twitter. Check those guys out. Follow them on Facebook. They have a great show. They're two awesome dudes. I had a lot of fun on the show, but one of the things that we discussed, we started talking about Adam Cole at some point, and the question the topic was basically, what do you do with these heels that get these babyface reactions? Are they really heels, and so on and so forth? And this is the point that I maintain. I have a theory, and I think that as we keep going along, I think I'm going to be able to point out more and more examples of this. WWE, one thing you have to keep in mind, WWE doesn't perceive itself as a wrestling company or a wrestling promoter. It views itself as a media company. It's not interested in creating heels and faces. It wants to create characters and IPs. It wants to create brands within the brand. So if you're interested in a character, you can boo, applaud. Ultimately, they don't care. And this is what they've been trying to tell us with Roman Reigns all along. They don't care if you boo for Roman. They don't care if you cheer for Roman. What they don't want is for you to be silent and not talk about it. So that's why, like on NXT, you've got Adam Cole, who, he's a jackass. His character's not in real life. I'm talking about the character, right? He's a jackass. He's a jock. He's an obnoxious jock. So you have him, but he gets babyface reactions. Huge babyface reactions. Samoa Joe on Maine. People love Joe. They cheer his name. Roman, they've been saying all these weeks, months, boo him or cheer him, whatever you want. Roman Reigns leaves no one indifferent, and that's what they want. Here's an example. If you've ever watched Lost, and I'm going to pull this out because I think, it's a show I've loved. I think a lot of people have seen it. If you remember, for those of you who watch Lost, when we first met Benjamin Linus, the alleged leader of the people, the inhabitants of the island, when we first met him, he was the bad guy. He was the big bad. But the performance, the writing, and the character were all so good that you could not help but like him. You could argue that eventually, they wrote him into being a more sympathetic character as well, but you could not help yourself. You had to like this guy, even though he was the bad guy, because he was that good. It's kind of the same thing. It's not a question of alignments. It's not good versus evil. It's, look, we're going this way. I mean, the Shield have always been super ambiguous when it comes to their tactics. Are these heel tactics or are these face tactics? I don't know. I feel I don't think that the discussion over whether they're heels or not is really all that relevant, and I don't think I honestly think that as we keep going forward, as WWE keeps going forward, yes, you will have your superheroes and your supervillains within the context, but you will also have a contingent of characters that will maybe act like villains, but you'll still think they're cool, and might be some baby faces who will sort of act or have a behavior that isn't exactly heroic or moral, yet they'll be baby faces nonetheless. I really think, like I said, I don't think WWE really concerns itself all that much to a very black and white babyface heel environment anymore. They want characters. They want identities. They want things that they can promote easily. I think that's what we're going for more and more. And do I think that pulling out the Shield is another desperation move? It's like, wait, didn't we see this not all that long ago? No, I think this is the continuation of the storyline that they wanted to do with the Shield before Dean got injured. I think they want to bring this one full circle. Will it end by Dean double-crossing Seth? Maybe. And I believe it at this point. I really think he will at some point crack. That he'll want to elevate himself from the shadows of his Shield brethren. But for now, I think this is also the best way for WWE to help paint themselves out of the corner. I think this is a good way for WWE to help get them out of the corner they've painted themselves into with Braun Strowman being this unstoppable force. If Braun always has to deal with a numbers game and Roman Reigns is his nemesis, or if Braun is really the first challenger to the Universal title, then it makes sense to have it makes sense for Roman to have backup and will help protect Braun at the same time, not make him look like a complete loser. Keep making him look strong, because he'll have to fight off 3 guys at a time all the time. So that was Raw, folks. Raw for August 20, 2018. As always, I am always open to discuss this with you guys. If you want to talk about it, if you want to send me a tweet, if you want to post a comment here on YouTube, if you do whatever you like. There's so many ways to get in contact with me. Just send me your ideas, your concepts, your thoughts, your comments, your own musings about what's going on in WWE right now. You can do that by following me on tinyurl.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. That is my YouTube channel. Maybe you're already here. Maybe you're not. Maybe you didn't know I had a YouTube channel. Well, there it is. tinyurl.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very, very much for hanging out with me till the very, very end of this video. And I'll see you next time.